For materials, I'm using a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, yarn needles, some stitch markers. I'll be using bobby pins as my stitch markers, and some yarn. So the brand that I'm using is called Caron 1 Pound, and we'll need 2 colors for this project. And today I'll use the sky blue as my primary color and the white as my secondary color. So before we crochet the corset, we're going to need 2 measurements. The first measurement, I call it the nip to nip measurement, and you just want to imagine that you are dividing your body into thirds, and this will give us a really nice sort of front portion of our corset. The second measurement, I'm calling it the neckline to waistline. It's pretty self-explanatory. The neckline is where you want it to start, and then the waistline will be where you want it to end. For my nip to nip measurement, I ended up getting 6 inches, and then my neckline to waistline measurement is also 6 inches. So these are the measurements that I will be working around. Okay, so this is a quick layout of the pattern that I came up with. We'll end up making 6 panels, but it's really just 3 really easy shapes that we'll be making, and we'll be making 2 of each shape. Also, I do wear a size small, so if you wear a size small in stores too, then you can probably follow my measurements and we'll end up making it together. Okay, so now we'll actually start making the top. So we'll start with panel A, and I just have a little diagram here to show you what I'll be doing. To begin, make a slip knot and chain the length of half of your nip to nip measurement. So my nip to nip measurement was 6 inches. That means I will chain about 3 inches. But for yarn, since it does tend to stretch, I'm gonna chain a little less, so maybe around like 2 or 2.5 inches. And that way it won't be too big. So I have a total of 10 chains, and now we'll just work single crochets into every single chain. And then we'll end up working single crochet rows for the majority of this pattern. It's very simple. So to make a single crochet, you'll skip the first chain from your hook and insert your hook into the very second chain. Just like that. And then yarn over and pull through the chain. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops, and that is your first single crochet. And we're just going to continue doing that for the rest of the row, so I'll show you one more time. Insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull through the chain. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and then pull through both loops, and just continue doing that for the rest of the row. I'm at the last stitch of my row, and I have 9 total stitches because I started with a foundation chain of 10. So for the next row, you'll just chain 1, turn your work, and continue single crocheting along the entire row. And we'll just work single crochet rows until we reach the height of our neckline to waistline measurement. And also, when you're starting each row, just don't forget to insert your hook into that very first stitch. Okay, so here I am finishing up the last row. I ended up making a total of 24 rows. It ended up measuring about 5.5 inches in height, and I could have continued to reach the whole 6 inches that I wanted initially, but I wanted a more cropped corset, so I just stopped there. Once your panel reaches the neckline to waistline measurement, we're going to start decreasing on only one side of the panel to create that slant, or like the sharp point of the corset. The decrease method that I'm using is single crochet 2 stitches together to decrease. So what you'll do is insert your hook into the very first stitch, yarn over and pull through the stitch. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, and then insert your hook into the very second stitch and yarn over and pull through that second stitch, and you'll have 3 loops on your hook. So then yarn over and pull through all 3, and you've just decreased by connecting 2 together. At this point, I'm adding a bobby pin to mark which side that I'm decreasing on. It's optional, it just helps me keep track, but for the rest of the row, we'll just put a single crochet into every single stitch. Okay, so I've reached the end of the row and I've already chained 1, so we'll just work single crochets until 2 stitches left in the row, and the last 2 stitches will single crochet 2 together to decrease. And I have 2 stitches left, and then I'll single crochet those 2 together to decrease again. And the bobby pin marks that side that I'm decreasing on, and you'll just repeat until you have 1 stitch left. And as you continue to decrease, you'll see this really nice slant or point form, and after that last and final stitch, you get that point at the end. So the next thing we're going to do is make a single crochet border around this whole panel, and you can either cut here and reattach the yarn at a place you feel comfortable starting the border at, but I'm just going to go right into it, and instead of cutting and reattaching, I'm going to save time and just start doing the crochet border right away. So as you can see, I'm just finding any stitch or hole that I can single crochet into. I kind of just eyeball it. I don't know if there's like a method for this, I just kind of go at it. But yeah, we're gonna make a single crochet border for every single panel that we do. So I'm at the last stitch of my side here, and I will actually cut and tie. I'll chain 1 to close the row first, and then I'll reattach the yarn to single crochet on the other side. This is how I reattach the yarn to the other side. I just look for the tail and insert my hook into the stitch that the tail comes off of, and then I'll pretend that the tail is the working yarn and yarn over and pull through to create that loop on my hook, and then I'll grab the actual working yarn and tie it to the tail. Okay, I know that some people don't like the knotted or like connected yarn look that the knot creates when you tie it, but I really don't mind. It saves time for me to weave ends in the end anyway, so I just do it. I know, don't judge me. But we're just gonna continue crocheting that single crochet border across. Alright, I'm at the very last stitch of my single crochet border of panel A, and after doing that border, we've lost our point that we initially had in the beginning. So to regain that point, I'm going to single crochet into the very first stitch of our border, and that will help me regain that point. So I'm just going to chain off to close the row, cut and tie, and we are all done with panel A. So we just need to make 1 more of these to have 2 total panel A's. Now I'm going to show you how to do panel B. So to start, we're going to make a chain that reaches the full length of our nip to knit measurement. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double the number of chains that I used from panel A, since that was half of the nip to knit measurement. So I had chained 10 for panel A, and now I will chain 20 for panel B. And now that I have my 20 chains, I'm going to continue working single crochet rows until I reach my neckline to waistline measurement. So again, I will be making 24 rows for this panel. I've just finished my 24 rows for panel B, and now we will begin to make the triangular portion of panel B. So to do this, we're going to decrease on each end for every other row, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, for the first row of our triangular portion, we're going to single crochet 2 together to decrease at the beginning of this row. So you'll just insert into your first and second stitches of the row, yarn over and pull through all 3. And here I will add a bobby pin just to mark that this is a decrease row, so that the next row I know it will be a regular row. And then I'm just gonna single crochet like normal for the rest of the row until the last 2 stitches, and then we will single crochet those 2 together to decrease at the very end. I have 2 stitches left, so I will single crochet those 2 together to decrease at the end of this row, or the first row of our triangular portion. So now chain 1 and turn your work, and for the second row of our triangular portion, we're just going to single crochet like normal, no decreases, just single crochet across. And then we will continue alternating the first and second row of our triangular portion until we reach to a point that has 2 stitches left. Here I have just finished all of my rows. I have 2 stitches left at the point, and now I will start to make my single crochet border around this panel. So again, I don't really have a method for crocheting like down the side. I'm sure there are videos that might be more helpful for this, but I kind of just eyeball it. Wherever there's a stitch or a hole, I'll just single crochet in, and it usually works out in the end. The border really just helps us connect the panels later on, and it also gives it a more like finished and clean look. But yeah, we should be okay. Now as we continue the border, you'll see that the slanted region meets the straight region of the panel. So what I'll do is I'll put a bobby pin where that corner meets. And what it does, again, everything that we're doing kind of prepares for the connection later on. And so this bobby pin just kind of marks like where that point meets, and then it'll help us like know where to start or end our connection. So yeah, I just finished this side of the border. Now I'll cut and tie and then reattach my yarn just like I did with panel A, and then single crochet up this side of the border until the top. And from there I will show you how to do the strap portion of panel B. Okay, so I'm just finishing up this last stitch of the border here, and this is what it looks like so far. From here we're going to make the long strap that comes off and tie in the back. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 piece, panel B here. So to do this, we're just going to chain up about 150 to 200 chains depending on how long you want your strap to be, and then we will double crochet back down the chain to make the strap. Okay, so I just finished making my 150 chains, and now I will begin to double crochet. So to double crochet, you'll skip the first and second chains from your hook and insert your hook into the very third chain. Yarn over and pull through the third chain, and you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over again and pull through 2 loops. And that is your double crochet. So you'll just do this all down the chain, and then I will show you how to connect it back to the panel. Okay, so I just finished the strap, and now we will slip stitch the strap back to the panel. So insert your hook into the first stitch of the crochet border that we made. Yarn over and pull through the stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. And that's a slip stitch. So now just chain 1, cut, tie, and we're all done with panel B. So now we just have to make one more panel B to have 2 total panel Bs, and then I will show you how to do panel C. Panel C is very similar to panel A, it's just that we're not going to do that decrease portion, and instead we will add the corset holes. To start, we'll just chain the length of half of our nip to nip measurement, so I'm just going to chain 10 again, just like I did for panel A, and then we will work single crochet rows until we reach the height of our neckline to waistline measurement. So I will be doing 24 rows as well. I've just finished my 24 rows, and now the next thing to do is to make the single crochet border around panel C. So I'm gonna do it very similar to how I did it with panel A. I'll just crochet down this side, cut and tie, and then reattach my yarn to the other side of the panel to finish single crocheting up that side. Now that I finished the crochet border for panel C, I'm going to start making the corset holes for the back. So I'm going to attach my secondary color to one side of the panel and then begin with a single crochet row. So I've just finished my first row in secondary color, and for the next row, chain 1, turn your work. The pattern that I'll be using for the corset holes is single crochet into the first 2 stitches, chain 3, skip 3 stitches, and then single crochet 5, chain 3 again, skip 3, single crochet 5, chain 3 one more time, skip 3, and then put a single crochet into the last 2 stitches. So this pattern works for me and the number of rows that I have. It might be different for you guys depending on how many rows you have or how big you want the holes to be. But for your last row, it's just going to be one last single crochet row to seal everything in. So I'm just going in with the first 2 single crochets, and then I'll put 3 single crochets into that whole space because I had chained 3, and then just single crochet down for the rest of the row. After you finish that last row, you can go ahead and cut and tie, and then we would just have to make one more of these to have 2 total panel Cs, and then we're all ready to connect them all. Okay guys, this is my absolute favorite part of this entire project. It's connect every single piece together. If you've made it this far after all 6 pieces, I just want to say I am so proud of you. We're almost done, and now I will show you how to single crochet these pieces together. Okay, so I've laid out all of my pieces, and we are going to be connecting each panel from left to right. So I'll start on the very left side connecting the left C and B pieces together. Okay, so now I only have the left C and B panels in front of me, and what we're going to do is we're going to line up the sides and pick up the panels so that the wrong sides are facing each other and the bottom of the corset is facing to the right. That way we can single crochet from the bottom up. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the very first stitch of panel C, and then insert my hook into the first stitch of panel B. Then I'm going to grab my secondary color, create a slip knot, and attach it to my hook. Then just pull the secondary color through both stitches, chain 1 to secure both panels, and then we can begin doing our single crochet seam or connection. So I'm just reinserting my hook into that very first stitch so I can place my first single crochet. Make sure you pull through both stitches and then single crochet. And then we'll just do this all along the entire side and create our seam or like connection for our corset. Alright, so I've just finished my first seam, and now I'm going to add the next panel that comes in the pattern, which is the left side of panel A. And we're going to do the same thing, just line up the sides and pick up the panels so that the wrong sides are facing each other. I found the first stitch of panel B and inserted my hook already, so now I'm just inserting my hook into panel A. I've marked with a bobby pin like where the corner meets just so it's easier for me to find it, and then I will attach the secondary color. And now we make our second seam of the corset connecting panels A and B together, and it's just single crochet again, and just do that all along the side. Okay guys, so just for some perspective, we finished doing the first and second seams, and now we're going to work on the right side. So we're not connecting the middle just yet. I'm going to connect the very right C and B pieces and then the B and A pieces. Okay, so now I have the right panel C and B's right in front of me, and we're going to do the same thing, just line up the sides and pick up the panels so that the wrong sides are facing each other. But this time you want the top of the corset to be facing right, so that way we can single crochet from the top down. Then insert your hook into the very first stitch of panel C, and then insert your hook into that corner stitch of panel B. And again, I marked the bobby pin just so I could find it easily. And then I'm going to attach my secondary color, pull it through both stitches, chain 1 to secure the panels, and then begin single crocheting down the side. Once you finish the seam, go ahead and cut and tie, and then I will show you how to connect the two middle pieces together. Now to connect the two panel A's together, we're going to use the slip stitch to join method. You can either start at the top of the corset or the bottom. I'm personally going to start from the top, so I have to flip the entire corset around. Okay, so to start, you're going to take your hook and insert your hook into the back loop of one side of the panel. So I'm going to start on the right side. And as you can see, I'm only going into that back loop, not both loops. Then you're going to take your hook and insert your hook into the back loop of the other side of the panel. So it's basically the loop that is closest to the center. Then take your secondary color, create that slip knot, attach it to your hook, and then we'll pull it through both loops. We're going to continue this process slip stitching up to connect both panel A's. So just insert your hook into the back loops of each stitch. Yarn over with the secondary color and pull through all 3 loops to slip stitch. Now you can already see the line forming after 3 stitches. This method is pretty tedious, so if you prefer the single crochet method, you can go ahead and do that. I just like the slip stitch because it faces flat to the front. Unlike the single crochets, it goes off to either side, but I just wanted it to have like a flat appearance. Now finally all of our seams are done. Look how nicely it's coming together. The last thing we have to do is make our crochet border around the entire corset and weave in our loose ends. To begin the border, I'm going to attach my secondary color to the bottom left of this corset and work my way across. Then when we get to the side, I'll slip stitch up to the upper right corner and then single crochet across the top. Okay, for some reason my camera stopped filming, so I really wanted to show you how to do the picot stitch at the corner where panels A and A meet, but it's basically a chain 3 and then you'll slip stitch back into the first chain to create that sharp point. So I've already made it to the top part of panel B where the strap comes off, and I'm just going to show you how I do it here. So basically I'm not going to single crochet up the strap, but instead I'm going to use a slip stitch. So you can either slip stitch all the way to the end of the strap, or you can go about a third or half of the way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to slip stitch up about 50 and then go back down. So here I'm just inserting my hook into the first space that I see and slip stitch, and I'm just going to go between each double crochet and put a slip stitch in. Okay guys, so I just finished doing the entire border around my corset, and I've already weaved in my loose ends, and now look how cute it's coming together. I'm just going to show you the last thing to do, which is to tie the corset back. So basically I'm just going to flip it over and fold the sides toward the middle, and we're just going to string the straps through the corset holes so that it creates X's. You guys, this is so cute. And then you can also tie a knot at the end of the straps so that the straps don't slip through the holes. But after that, it's all done, ready to wear, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and peace out, guys.